Right now on KGW, the latest on the ceasefire between Israel and Iran as President Trump heads to the Netherlands for a historic two-day NATO summit. Plus, after 17 months of an investigation, the NTSB meets to decide who or what is to blame for last year's Alaska Airlines door plug blowout over Portland. Then, the search is on for 3 suspects accused of a mob attack at a homeless encampment in Olympia.
Stupid. I mean, there ain't no reason for it. I've seen a lot of people beat up in there. I hope they do find them, whoever did it.
And later, we take a look at the controversial proposal put forward by some local lawmakers, how they want to use the state's kicker to fund public education. Your News at Noon starts right now.
You know what? We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Yeah, that was at the White House this morning as the president left for the start of the NATO summit. He didn't sugarcoat his words describing the situation in the Middle East, saying that in his view, both sides violated a ceasefire agreement that he announced last night. Thank you for joining us here at noon. I'm China Green. His statement came after Israel accused Iran of launching missiles into its airspace after a ceasefire was supposed to take effect. Now, both countries have confirmed that they've agreed to abide by that ceasefire. And in an update this afternoon, the White House officials say that Trump told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to expect any more American military action in the region. Now, amid the tensions, world leaders, including President Trump, are gathering in the Netherlands for a NATO summit that could unite the world's biggest security organizations. Now, past summits have focused almost entirely on the war in Ukraine. Now it's likely the focus will be on the U.S.'s involvement in the conflict between Israel and Iran. NBC's Garrett Haake has the latest from the Netherlands.
The president heads to the NATO summit here in the Netherlands today with an opportunity to consolidate 2 victories on the world stage. First, of course, this ceasefire that he has forged over the last 24 hours between Israel and Iran, in which he was seen colorfully policing on the South Lawn today, and a phone call with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu urging the Israelis to stand down on further counterattacks against Iran. And then on a longer-term issue, one that has always bothered this president, Europe's defense of itself. NATO is expected to approve during this summit an increase in the targeted defense spending for its member nations from 2% to 5%. The president has long said European nations in particular needed to spend more money on their own defense. He could get it at this summit. That's if opposition from a couple of smaller countries, including Spain, can be handled. We'll also be watching over the next day and a half, and that's really all the time the president is on the ground here, for what contact he has with President Zelensky of Ukraine, whether he's able to move the ball in any way on Ukraine's war with Russia and on his own personal relationship with Zelensky that has been so difficult. Now, the president has had rocky relationships at times with some of these European leaders. He has not always enjoyed his NATO summits. He famously left one early during his first term, accusing Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of being two-faced. On this flight over, he is saying he's looking forward to visiting with his European friends and European allies. A different time and place for a president who has long had strained relationships with Europe, but who can come in to this summit today and tomorrow, claiming some victories on the world stage and pushing Europe more towards his agenda for what that stage should look like going forward. In the Netherlands, I'm Garrett Haake, NBC News.
All right, we are headed up to the weather deck where we can find Rod Hill. Is the sun on your head, sir? There it is. It's shining.
There is zero chill. There's a little bit of a breeze, but the breeze is warm up here. We're in the 70s. I'm looking around. I just see sunny skies. I think we're in for really an absolutely lovely afternoon. So let's get to it. We'll begin with the satellite picture just so I can illuminate for you that basically everybody is looking at dry weather as we get rolling through the afternoon hours. The sky cameras are going to continue to illuminate this as well. We are looking at low cloudiness along the coast, and pardon me, and that's something that we're going to continue to see the remainder of today. Here's Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City. The clouds probably going to hold all day because there's actually some more cloudiness increasing coming in off Pacific waters that we'll see here in the valley, but not until later today or this evening. There's Salem, 77 degrees at noon. Temperatures are definitely running above yesterday, and I've had to up my forecast numbers that I expected this afternoon. Portland is at 74. I think it was 67 at noon yesterday. Yesterday, if you're wondering, we went on to 82 degrees. So There's your day planner. We're looking at temperatures getting up to about 85 this afternoon. I think the warmest we could be, if the data I look at as a forecaster is correct, is 86. But certainly a warm afternoon coming. The big story for our forecast is a quick cool off tomorrow that will bring clouds, maybe a touch of moisture. But on the flip side, the 7-day then warms up into the weekend. We'll have all of those numbers for you coming up in my complete forecast. Now live on the weather deck, brought to you by Rick's Custom Fencing and Decking. Let's go back inside.
Thank you, Rod.
This accident never should have happened. Since this accident occurred, there's been a lot of focus on human error, on the actions of one or two individual Boeing employees. Let me be clear, an accident like this does not happen because of an individual or even a group of individuals.
We are learning more information today about what went wrong when a door plug blew out of an airplane over Portland a year and a half ago. For months, the finger has been pointed at Boeing after preliminary reports found 4 bolts were missing from the Boeing-made plane. And throughout today's meeting, the NTSB has pointed to several problems at Boeing, like inadequately trained staff, ineffective management strategies to deal with a diminished workforce, and overly complex part removals. But they say it's not just Boeing's leadership that needs to take responsibility.
For there to be continuous improvement at Boeing, production line personnel must recognize their shared responsibility in supporting a positive safety culture and identifying hazards and risks.
Now, Boeing is not the only one under the microscope. NTSB leaders have questions for Federal Aviation Administration as well. Developing story in Olympia this afternoon. Officers are searching for 3 people accused of attacking a woman at a homeless camp. Officers say the attack happened when the woman walked into the encampment to return a bike to a friend, and the group started blaming her for a recent overdose death. Police say that she was repeatedly kicked, hit with baseball bats, and sprayed with bear spray. They also say that someone in the group played Russian roulette with a loaded firearm that they stuck in her mouth and pulled the trigger. That woman is now out of the hospital. So far, 4 people have been arrested, and police believe that 3 more are involved. Our sister station in Seattle spoke with someone who lives near the encampment.
Stupid. I mean, there ain't no reason for it. I've seen a lot of people beat up in there. I hope they do find them, whoever did it.
Now, the place is known as the Jungle and has history of violent incidents. Others have been attacked. One person was even killed there. Neighbors are hoping that this incident will prompt the city to clean it up. Police arrested the man accused of shooting at officers and leading them on a chase last Friday morning in southeast Portland. Now, the man's name, one of the most memorable details of this story, he goes by Looney Tune. Yes, you heard that right. U.S. Marshals found Tune in Sandy yesterday afternoon and called the SWAT team to help arrest him. Last Friday, Milwaukee police tried to pull him over, but instead they say he ran into a patrol car, took off, firing shots at officers while they chased him. Tune already had outstanding warrant, and his new charges include attempted murder. And listen to this. A bank in Clackamas is dealing with quite a bit of damage after a thief used an excavator to rip out a drive-through ATM and steal the cash inside. Turns out the excavator was stolen from a construction site near the U.S. Bank on Sunnyside. Now, the construction company says the thief had to have some sort of experience here, or they wouldn't have been able to turn the equipment on, know how to operate it. Now it's dealing with a damaged excavator and a shut down work site.
Yeah, we're definitely behind not only with the schedule, but just with the equipment costs and the replacement that it's going to be to get a new piece of equipment in.
We're going to find out if the sheriff's office has any suspects in this case. As the Oregon legislative session winds down this week, some local lawmakers are hoping to change the state's kicker. One bill would curb kicker returns and funnel money to public education. Thomas Schellitz explains.
We are just not funding these schools enough.
For years, parents like Laura Labar have clamored for more school funding, as Oregon students' scores are near the bottom nationwide in reading and math.
In Oregon, the #1 problem it seems that we face is just underfunding.
Labar says her kindergartner has struggled to learn to read in a class with 26 other kids.
It's really tough. Like, in a word, it's tough.
Though State Representative Mark Gamba has a proposal that could help target the kicker.
In the last biennium, we kicked $5.6 billion.
In a House bill, Gamba proposes curbing how much money is kicked to taxpayers and how often it happens. Money would instead go to things like public education and housing.
We've got to start having a pot of money that we can utilize for those things.
It's an idea Governor Tina Kotek has explored too. In May, Kotek publicly backed an idea to reallocate $1 billion from the kicker to fund wildfire costs.
If something gets done, it's going to be done counter to where public opinion is. And that is just the reality that we're in right now.
John Horvick is a pollster. He says Oregonians largely support the kicker. Reform is challenging, but not impossible.
This doesn't have to go to the ballot, so legislators have some flexibility to make their choices, independent of an election being a year away.
Horvick says while it won't be popular, legislators may be able to slice away some kicker funds for bigger needs.
A big chunk of what we return every year is to the wealthiest Oregonians, people who don't actually need it.
And parents, like LaBar, hope it'll be used to help the youngest Oregonians.
At the end of the day, there isn't a lot of support for one-on-one coaching or the kind of environment that provides calm, centering moments for kids like mine.
In Portland, Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
Some local Republican lawmakers are responding to a proposal in a federal bill that could put millions of acres of public land up for sale. We first brought you this story last week after environmentalists raised concerns about the proposal.
I think that public lands are set aside to be our national treasures, and I don't think that that should be in a budget bill.
Now they're worried about natural landscapes being ruined by development or potential oil or gas drilling, but Washington State Representative Phil Fortunato says that there's a provision in the bill that would give states or tribes a shot at buying the land first.
Why in the world would we allow the federal government to maintain control of state lands within our state when we would have the opportunity to have that control locally?
Now, this is part of the Trump administration's Big Beautiful Bill, which is being debated in the U.S. Senate right now.